Okay everyone, so in this next video, let's have to go work with making our player move left and right. And I've been reading through the documentation and I've been exploring how to do this. And so far, one of the things that we have to do first here is to try to go and set up our animation. So below here, let me just go remove some of this and clean up some of the things that we don't want anymore in our document. And let's delete this. This was just for testing. And now let's have to go set up some animation first. So below our set collider here, let's go set up our this.anims.create method that will contain an object as an argument, and we're going to set a key value pair for left for the frames that we want to access, and we're going to be using the this.anims and the method generate frame numbers, and we're going to reference the rider or the player, and we have the start 0 and key value pair for the another object as an argument, second argument. And we want to have a frame rate property and a value of 10, and let's have a repeat -1, which if we try to look at our rider here, we'll be referencing, let's go back here, let me just close some of this, and it will be referencing start 0 up to end will be 0 base 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's copy this and let's go and have that anims, and let's just say that this is going to be the turn key, and this is going to be now with the frames of, we're going to pass in a value of an array that will contain an object, and we'll have a key rider, and we are going to reference the frame 4. So that means that's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we want this to be frame 4, but we don't need a repeat one here, so we'll just be using frame rate 20. And we also want to go and try to set up one anim that will be for the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we want to set up similar setup here, but we'll be giving it a 5 to 8 value. And the frame rate will be 10, and this is going to be -1, and this is going to be for the right. Okay, and we also want to set up, next thing that we want to set up here will be cursors, this that input that keyboard that create cursor keys method, and we'll have to declare some variables. Let me just declare some variables on top. I'm going to declare a variable player. Let's just say let player, let platforms, let cursors, let key A, let key S. I'm going to be working with those later on, so let's first have a key A and B first. We'll be declaring some variables there. we'll need those later. And right now, supposedly there still won't be anything happening. So what I want to do next is try to set up in our function update, and let's have to have an if statement here that will have cursors dot left is down, and we want to have our player that player object. We want to set here set velocity property x that will be with a value of -160. Then we want to have a player that animes that play left, and the value will be true as a boolean, as a second argument. So it's like you're accessing this key left, and then you're passing it as an argument into this player animes that play. Let's just double check if this will work. So if we try to refresh, player goes down, and we now move to the left, right? We can see that where the player is already moving to the left. So let's now try to work with some more statements here. So I'm going to have an else if statement, and I'm going to say that this else if will have an open and close parenthesis, or some arguments, and we're going to access the cursors that right that is down, and we want to have a player dot set velocity 160, which is going to have a positive value, and we have a player animes dot play. So instead of left, we want to access the right, and we want to have a value of true, and that should be accessing this property key. And let's just check first if that will work. So now the player goes down. I'm going to use my arrow key to go to the right or left, and go to the left and right. It does move now, but the problem here is that you will see it continuously moves, right? It's moving to the right, it's moving to the left once you hit on the button left and right arrows. So we want to have a value, default value, that will be an else statement, and that else statement will be containing the player dot set velocity it's equals to 0. So that means if the player is not moving, or if we're not pressing on the right or left, we should have our velocity set to 0. That will be referencing our key turn and the rider frame number 4, which is this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And supposedly now we should get to see that the player falls down, but you would see it's really not working the way we want it to happen. So I think we'll need to have another setup here for an if statement. Cursors dot up dot is down, and player dot body dot touching dot down. Let's have a value here of player dot set velocity y is -330. Let's see what this will be doing for us. And let's refresh. So the velocity is really slow, and it's not going down the way we want it to. Okay, so we can see that the player is moving a little too slow before it reaches that platform. And I did pause the video and I tried to figure out what's happening. Let's first try to set up, and I saw that I forgot to put that x velocity here. Set velocity x here for our method for the player. Let's see if that will solve the problem. And we do see that it falls that way, and the player can move to the left and the player can move to the right using the arrow keys. Now, one other thing that I just want to apply here, of course, we have the arrow keys working now, but we also want to set up the common keys that we use for moving our players. We know that that would be WASD, right? So WASD is the equivalent of the up, left, down, and right. So let's first try to set up the variables that we have here, which is let key A and let key D. And I've been exploring on how to implement this, and we can try to go to this method or this function create that we've created, and we can try to go and redeclare and initialize. So we just declare the variable on top, and now we're going to initialize this with a value, which is going to be the this keyword referencing to the phaser. I think this is referencing to the phaser framework that will be containing some, I'm still trying to figure out, it will be referencing this new instance of the object that we've created, or is it referencing this lexical environment for, we're binding it to the function that we have here. And so we do have here, you would see we have a create method, and usually that's one of the, sometimes this keyword can really be a bit confusing. So I think it's referencing this value, the new instance of the object, and that's why we can maximize the use of the this keyword in this function. Just let me know if you have a much better explanation for it in words in the comment below if you're also exploring this. We know that this keyword is referencing an object that would be containing the properties like input.keyboard and this add key method. So we just have to confirm where that's coming from, and I think it's this phaser dot the instance of the phaser game that we have passed in as a variable in our code here. And right now I just want to say phaser dot input dot keyboard dot key codes dot a. So this is one of the solutions that I found in trying to implement this. So let's try to have another initialization, and we have AD, so this will be move left, and this is going to be move right. And now if I try to test this out, let's go back to the browser and let's cross our fingers that it will now be working. Still not working because we actually forgot to set that up down here, and we'll use some logical operators or cursors, or let's just say is key not is key, it should be key a dot, we're referencing the variable that we've declared here. And let me just make sure that I don't make a mistake with my type, so I'm just going to copy paste that down here just to be sure, and then is down. And let's do the exact same thing for our, that's for the left. Let's have the, of course we want that D key. And then let's go back to our browser and see what's happening. So the gravity is working okay, and now I can move with my A key and my D key, moving to the left and right, besides from my arrow key left and my right arrow key right. So now we have some movements for our player. Perhaps that's it for this video for the meantime, and see you on the next video.